Hey everybody, this is Sherry with CPR, Craft, Pray, Repeat, and I'm using a set from Fawn today called Critters on the Farm. And this is a design team project for Honey Bunny's Treasures. I will make sure to leave a link in the description box so that you can go check out the store. I will put all of the colors and things that I use on the screen. And the things that she carries in her store, I will make sure to put Honey Bunny's Treasures with so that you know exactly where to go to find it. So here I'm just stamping out my images with my Memento ink because it is a Copic safe ink, and I'm going to color my images with my alcohol markers. And you can see that I've already done the little pig, and I will put the collars up for that. It was becoming so long that I thought nobody is going to want to sit here and listen to me or watch me for this amount of time. So I picked a couple of the animals that had little specialities, like the cow with the spots. And you see that I start and I'm like, don't like that color. It's not dark enough. So I go back over and I start with a darker set of the W's to make my spots more black. And then I just put up, if you saw, the color that I did use for the pig, which is R000, R00, R30, and R21. Now here I am, I'm going in. I wanted my cow to be white. And so to have something white, you need to put in the shadows because it's not just all white. And I thought that he kind of looked a little too gray for my liking. So I went over him really good with a real good coat of my colorless blender. And he still looks very dark. That's what I'm doing right now. But that's because the paper's still wet. Once it dries, like you can see now, it's drying and he looks much more white. And so I'm just coloring in my horns, and for some reason, I don't know what my deal was, but I was not doing well with my color choices, and everything was coming out brighter than I wanted. So my colorless blender became my best friend in this project. And so you'll see that I use it quite a bit. And here I am with my sheep and putting down the colors for his legs, and I just do E50, 51, and 53. But because he's got little indentations, I didn't want to color him as if he were smooth. I wanted those little puffs of wool to kind of be separated a little bit, which is why you see me bringing the tip of the marker out a little farther than the actual indentation goes, so that I can emphasize the fact that he's not just a flat piece of fabric, he's fluffy little pieces of wool. And I like wool. I'd like to have a sheepskin, but don't tell him that. It might offend him. But that's so soft. I love that stuff. And that's coming from the woman who is for some reason freezing right now and wrapped up in a blanket. Maybe that's why I'm thinking like that. So here I just go and I start on my face. I realized I didn't like the pink. It looked too pink for me and not enough skin-like. So I go over it with my E50 to give it a more flesh-like tone. And there's the little chicken. She's already done. And there's the collars that I used for her. The R24 is for the little beak, or the top of her head and that little gobbly thing. And her beak was the YR collar. And I'm just tracing over everything to get a good dark bold line around it. Because on this project, for some reason, I decided that I didn't want to cut directly up to the line. I wanted to leave a little white border, so I wanted to make sure that each of my lines looked good and crisp. And here I just used my Recollections detail scissors that I purchased at Michael's forever ago, that are, you know, taking a licking and keeping on ticking. And so I'm cutting out my pieces. And if you watch, you'll see anywhere where there's a straight piece, I may move my scissors, but anywhere where there's curved pieces, my scissors stay straight and it's my paper that moves. I kept thinking there's got to be a better way to describe how you do this, because I know that a lot of people struggle with that. And that's what it is. If there's a straight piece, move your scissors. But if it starts to curve or bend or anything, move your paper. Don't move your scissors or you'll get a jagged edge. And you'll see I knew I was not going to use the entire part of the animals, but yet I collared them anyways. I don't know why I do this stuff. I wonder sometimes. I don't think my brain works at all. I think it went on vacation and it decided it liked it there and it just never came back, because it just doesn't seem like it's been working for me lately. So I just finished collaring and cutting out all my pieces, and I used a die that I had in my stash. And I wasn't sure which collar at first I was going to go with, if I was going to go with the brown or if I was going to go with the black, and I chose the black. And I just get my double-sided tape that they have at Honey Bunny's Treasures and get ready to tape down my thing, and so that I can put my acetate on this, because I wanted to make a shaker card. And guys, I'm going to be just blatantly honest here. I have yet to make one stinking shaker card where my bits don't stick. Dadgummit. I really thought I had it this time. I was like, those little strips are like the bomb diggity. And so they're the Doris adhesive foam strips, and they're nice and thin. They go perfect over those edges. And I was like, I got it. And had I not messed up, it would have worked fine, and I would have had my first perfect shaker card. But I messed up. So here I am, just killing my animals and cutting their behinds off. Poor little things. But I don't know, I got enough behind. I wish somebody had cut some of mine off sometimes. Oh my golly. But for some reason, I just thought he had to have his tail. He just looked incomplete without his tail. So I gave him his tail. So here I am, making sure that all of my adhesive tape is pushed down real good, and I'm adding a piece of acetate, which actually to me is nothing more than a sheet of overhead projector sheet that you can get at any office supply store. It works fine for me. And I did cut it on my trimmer, but I knew I cut it larger than I needed, because I'm not very good at lining things up at times. So these are my Elmer's glue spots. I'm telling you, those things are the bomb diggity. There's no way those little critters are going to go anywhere. That was my concern. I was like, well, they only got that one little piece of adhesive on them. I want to make sure that when you shake it, they don't fall off. But they are going nowhere. And this is an example of what not to do when you make a card like this. And the first thing I should have done was not attached my adhesive until I measured out my back and had traced on the little squares where I knew where everything needed to be. So thank goodness I had the extra frame, and it worked out perfect and helped me. God is good, because I tell you, Sherry ain't got a brain. And so I'm just using a couple stamps from my stash. It's from one set right there. And I love the hearts that come with that set. And so I knew that I needed to put it over as far as I could to the right, so that everything came out where it came out in front of the cow, because I wanted it to look like the cow was saying, hello, sunshine. And so I had to be real careful, because it didn't give me a whole bunch of room. And so I get it all in there and get it lined up, and you're seeing what is left of the very pale, pale, pale pink of my hair, which when I go this week or next and get it trimmed, there won't be any pink anymore. And that's the Doris adhesive foam strips I was telling you about. And I used a dryer sheet on my acetate, and it worked perfect. None of my little bits stuck to the top of the acetate, which has been like one of my pet peeves, that my stuff's, the static cling grabs all my stuff. and holds it to the acetate. Well, that worked great. So here I am. I'm putting in all the shaker bits into each of the little compartments because I decided I did not want them to just all drop to the bottom. I wanted them to each stay in their own little place. And I added a bunch of stars because I kind of wanted it to look like the cows were out at night. And that's my thinking. And you're going to see here in a minute that I get ready to attach my screen, and or my top piece, and I'm sure a bunch of you are yelling, "No, Sherry, no, don't do this." I didn't hear you, because watch, I go ahead and I attach the top piece. And so I use my stuff there, my static tool, to keep all the sticky away, and I'm ready, buddy. I have got it all set up. Forgot to put the center pieces of foam, so watch what happens the minute I flip this thing up. Let's try that again. And as you can see, all of my shaker bits fell to the bottom because I forgot to put in the little divider pieces. So had I done it right the first time, nothing stuck. But then I went and had to go back, and all my little pieces slid around, and they got attached to the foam and then the strips, and it was just a nightmare. I was so bummed. I was like, it was perfect! And it's not perfect now. But you know what? It's still okay because I wanted it to look like a nighttime sky. And, you know, all your stars aren't going to fall to the bottom, so it's okay to have some that are still up at the top, kind of hanging out there a little bit. So I just go ahead and I reattach my back. And there's my shaker bits, and actually nothing stuck to the top. I was so tickled with that dryer sheet. And here I'm just using some ATG tape to attach it to my 110-pound Recollections card base. And I will go in and add a white piece to the center for writing. Sorry there are no pictures at the end of this, guys. I just have not been up to it here lately, and I apologize. I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And please go check out Honey Bunny's Treasures. I'm sure you'll find something that you just can't live without. Remember to practice your CPR. Craft, pray, repeat.